Hi, I'm Alexa, and before I jump into my topic today, I want to say a very quick welcome and thank you for being here to my new subscribers. You absolutely made my weekend. My channel is this tiny little baby chick that's like starting to grow a little bit, and it was very slow. And then this weekend, I basically doubled my subscriber count, and it came off of the back of two videos about one of my favorite things in the world, so Everton Football Club. So it was such a fun experience, and it is never about the numbers, but there's also that little bit of you that's always excited to see something come out of the hard work you put into it. This channel is about me using my voice, facing fears, and let's be honest, there are some phenomenal Everton podcasts, YouTube channels, websites way better than I could do. They are all Everton all the time. So I'm not here to replace them. I'm not here to make this an Everton channel, but I am here to talk about my life and the things that I see in it, and then to also relate that back to our lives as just regular individuals and how we can take the lessons by seeing them in action and being modeled by things like our favorite sports teams or businesses or public people, personas, whatever industry they're in. That is something that I have a strength in. It has taken me a very, very long time to be able to truly and honestly say, this is what I'm good at. I can come up with my weaknesses and things I need to work on real easily. That has never been a problem. It's actually the opposite. I think of too many of those things and hold myself to too high standards that they're unrealistic. None of us as humans are perfect. So one of the things that I am good at is leadership, communication, and really helping with people. It's coaching people. Now, there's different ways, different scenarios where you could be a coach. I'm not talking about being a sports team coach, although there are a lot of parallels between coaching your favorite team and coaching your team at work, right? There's so many parallels because at the end of the day, these professional athletes, whatever sport they're in, if they're on one of these top league teams, they are some of the absolute best at the skills that get you there. When people go through a slump, it's not because they forget how to kick a ball, how to throw a ball, how to swing a bat. They don't forget that. It's something here or here that is holding them back, making them distracted. There's actually scientific research out there, data that shows when you do make a mistake, you're actually more likely to make a second mistake because you're so busy berating yourself. You get so hyper focused on not making a mistake that you don't let yourself just breathe and do what you know comes naturally, which is what you do every day, all day, which are the basic skills like kicking a ball if you're a footballer or a soccer player. So this topic today, which I'm going to get into very quickly here, is team building 101, basically. This concept, I did talk about it because we did just get a new coach, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit more and put it in my Learn with Lexa series. So, psychologist Bruce Tuckman did originate this theory, this forming, storming, norming, and performing model in order to help enhance team effectiveness. We know there's the 4 stages. He did later add a 5th stage, and that is either called adjourning or mourning, and that's when the team ends. Now, obviously, the team might not end for everyone. So, for example, someone on your team may get a promotion, move to a different team, move into a different department, move to a different company. They might retire because that's where they are in life. That is also an adjourning and a mourning, more especially for the person who's leaving. But it is also sad when you're in a position and someone you've worked with for several years and then they move on. There's that, we use that term bittersweet, right? Where we're going to miss that person so much, but we're also super excited for them if they're a good friend or you know, you have all those positive interpersonal relationships with them. You want to see people succeed. You're happy when they do, but you also are going to miss them. So it's that little bittersweet part. So there is obviously the other scenario where let's say your leadership brought people from across your company, put you all together on a project. It was a 6-month timeline. The project is successfully deployed, finished, and now the entire team, all of you, go back to your original departments. That is a little bit more of the adjourning, like everyone goes back, but you can still have those same feelings of, wow, this was a really intense project, but I worked with some great people. We accomplished this amazing thing. We got our goals. We did it. Check, right? And now we're back in our own teams. So there can be a little bit of, I wish we had more of that to work with these people some more. And then maybe people you are kind of okay with not being there anymore. And that's also okay in life. The forming stage, as a person, and I'm going to talk about this more from the leadership perspective. So I do have an MBA with a specialization in organizational leadership, I do a lot of reading about leadership theories, new research, whatever I see when it comes up on the various sites I go to, from LinkedIn to Google News to my friends and coworkers giving me books that they've read. They think that I'm going to enjoy them, and there's something there for me to learn from as well. Like, lots of sources, right? I've come to realize that when you're moving into a manager position, the numbers, the day-to-day work, the actual process you follow, secondary. Yes, you have to keep an eye on that stuff. But the first thing you need to do when you are given the privilege of leading a team is get to know the people and establish the relationships. Now, this can be very tricky if you were a member of the team as like a peer, where you all held the same position and then you're the one promoted into the manager position. That is going to cause way more storming in general than if you were completely unknown to the people who you are now leading. There's a whole bunch of data. That's a whole nother topic for another day. If you're interested in that, definitely go ahead, drop a comment below, let me know. I would be happy to talk about that, both from personal experience, but also on the research that's out there. In any relationship, whether it's at work, whether it's friendship, whether it's romantic, right? Whatever relationship you have, when changes occur within the dynamics of what you've both become used to, that's where a lot of our friction as people, that's where it comes from, is this change and our expectations that we've had, because this is how we've done this is how we've interacted this whole time, and now it's changed and I have to get used to this new thing. And we're humans. We don't like change. We do not like change. This is just a psychological fact. We're all human. This is what happens. So the best thing, I'm going to drop an article so you can certainly read more about this, but the best thing you can do when you're forming a team is to really come in and be very clear with a goal and objective for your team. Like, this is what we need to get to as, and it needs to be sort of inspirational. It shouldn't be, we need to get to this production number. That's our goal. The goal needs to be, we need to look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, make sure we're doing it the right way so that we're all on the same page, and we can then reach these numbers naturally, because the work just takes care of itself once you're in that sort of good space. And I do think a lot of people think managing is simply counting the money in the till and then making sure everyone's on time on their schedule, and it's not. Like, that's important, and there's certainly positions where that's not important, and it might be stressed as over important. But at the end of the day, you need to take care of your people, and you need to make sure they're okay, both in their minds and in their hearts. I want you to think about a football team. Again, I might have just said this, but I'm going to say it again. When one of the best performers in the world is having a slump, it has nothing to do with them not knowing how to do their job. It has everything to do with what's in here and what's in here, and the stuff that's going on in their life that's stressing them out. That's where it is. And that, as a leader, is what you are going to be in charge of. That is what you need to find a way to help coach your people to deal with that noise and to get back to the basics of just going through the motion. The muscle memory for athletes is a phenomenal thing. So storming can come about real quick, or it could take a while. It's also something where you could have been the manager of a team for 3 years, you get one new employee in, and suddenly stuff just like doesn't work between. It might not even be the new person, but like it just highlights differences, different ways of thinking. And again, we're humans. We don't really like change. So storming can last for a long time. And if you are not aware of how to combat storming, it's going to drag on. Now, there are also situations where potentially you don't actually have the power to do what you know is going to help a team. Maybe who you report to, people around you, other teams do their piece of the work, and that's where maybe there's some issues in the process or whatever, and you don't have control of it. So there's always external stuff from outside of your team, whether you're a member or the leader, and you may not be able to account for it. But I have found that being honest about, as honest as you can, there's also confidentiality of laws and ethical concerns around various topics, right? You can't just come in and say so-and-so doesn't meet any of their expectations on their review or whatever those things are. As honest as you can be, and even to the point of saying, I'm unable to tell you more at this time due to confidentiality reasons, instead of lying and saying, oh, I don't know. Because if they find out that you did know something and you told them you didn't know, you're now going to be losing trust. So storming can sort of go back and forth, and events that you have no control over can affect it. A new person joining your team can affect it and put you back into a storming phase. It's life. Life is not linear. Life is this sort of sine wave of up and down and up and down, and then it might circle around and go backwards a little bit before it goes forwards again, right? So storming is nothing to be afraid of. One of the things that I was told as a relatively new manager was that my most challenging employee was my absolute best teacher, because you will not learn anything if you are not being challenged. And this is one of the reasons I do challenge myself to learn new stuff and to seek out new information and to go and find stuff. Because if you're not doing that, if you're not being challenged, you will not learn anything. Now, I will fully admit that about 6 months in, hearing this being said to me again from one of my mentors, I looked at him and I said, that's great, but I'd really like a break from this lesson. I'd really like a break from this for a while. It can be hard to hear and it can be hard to get through. But if you do get through it and you don't give up and you continue to learn and you continue to grow and evolve, not only is your team going to be better if you're able to bring them with you, but you are going to be better equipped for the next time you're in a situation that with the storming of a similar nature. Norming is where everything starts to smooth out. Everyone's taking care of what they need to, but it's not like you're just like, there's just that little bit extra. Like it's going from being in the top half of the table, right? The top half of the league to being the number one in the league. It's that little extra push that just gets you up there. Like, how did this team do it? I think back on Leicester, the first season, I think it was the first season after they were promoted into the Premier League, and they won it. And nobody expected them to. And it was because they were in the performing stage of the team building, that is where they were. They're a phenomenal example of how the sum of parts can be greater, what comes out of it is greater than the sum of the parts, right? They were such a cohesive unit. Their interpersonal relationships were so strong. They trusted each other. They knew each other. They knew, if I kick it here, this person will take care of it. Like, they absolutely trusted each other. And we know it showed. We've seen other teams throughout history this occur. We all know it. When we see it, we know that that is the performing stage. We know that that's the pinnacle, and that's where we all want to get to. And listen, we might not get there, okay? But norming is where a lot of us are, right? And it's good. We're doing what we need. We're meeting expectations. So I fully also admit, raise my hand, this is me. I want to be as perfect as possible. I want to do the absolute best possible job that I possibly can for my own personal self, for me. That is what makes me feel accomplished and feel good and feel like I've done something with my day, is if I have done the absolute best that I can. So I don't think it's a bad thing to aspire to want to be at that performing level, that flow state as a team versus just as ourselves. I think that it's something we can aspire to, and I think that it is absolutely out there for us to achieve. We do need people around us to want to get there as well. So you can do it when they're not, but it's a lot harder to coach them into that if they don't believe in it, or don't believe in the mission of the team, or whatever their reason is for being, or maybe it's nothing to do with that. Maybe it is simply there's too much stuff going on in there outside of work or outside the team life, because a team can be, it doesn't have to be a work team. It can be, a volunteer team. It can be like a rec league, like you can go play, right? Like, there's so many ways you can have a team. It can be a team within your family, your team that you take care of your kids. You're a team together as parents, right? That's a team. So these stages, I hope I have done a better job today of sort of expanding on what they are. I hope that I have given you guys some, and not guys, all y'all. I hope I've given all y'all something to think about. And go ahead, drop me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Where have you seen these phases in your career? What ones stick out to you? Where do you think your current team is? And again, it doesn't have to be a work team. It could be rec league, whatever, right? Whatever team you want to talk about, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I will leave an article with a little bit more of the original sort of explanation versus my translating it a little bit from Bruce Tuckman, the psychologist who did originate this. And forming, storming, norming, and performing. That's the topic. Happy Wednesday, y'all. Be kind to yourself.